Hello, welcome to Arcadia. This is the D&D tutorial, and today we'll be talking about dwarves. What is their lore, what makes them different from other ancestries, and for you veteran players who already know most of this, how to take your roleplay of dwarves to the next level. Be sure to stick around until the end, because I will share a secret about dwarves that 5th edition never bothered to tell us. Let's roll. If you saw the previous video in this series about elves, you already know what to expect from this one, but for those of you who didn't, well, first of all, go see it because it contains information that is really interesting. But aside from that, I believe that every ancestry in D&D is, and should be, inherently different. I mean, from the different sociology, the biological differences that come with being an entirely different species, and even sometimes the direct interference of the gods. That is enough in D&D to justify that the average individual of every ancestry should have a creed and a behavior that is very distinct from every other ancestry. And this can be a wonderful thing to roleplay. You get to emulate the life of a completely different alien being to you and experience things you would never be able to if you played a human. And in the end, if the game has a lot of different ancestries that are all the same, what's the point in having different ancestries at all? So, what makes dwarves distinct? Who are they? Well, D&D tells us that dwarves are these short but sturdy folks, about 1.5 meters in height, which roughly translates to 5 feet, and often seen with respectable beards. They live long, about 4 centuries, and they are one of the most lawful creatures in D&D. They are loyal, determined, disciplined, and utterly devoted to their clan. That, I believe, is their most defining characteristic. The clan is everything for a dwarf. Everything they do in life has the goal of contributing to the clan, to improve it, to make it richer, safer, grander. Even their children are considered contributions to the clan in a way. They are the ones that they teach and train to carry on their legacy and perpetuate the greatness of the clan. In essence, the clan acts as a mix of a small autonomous government and a big extended family. Both in theory and in practice, because even though most elements of a clan are part of the same family, tracing back their genealogy to a common ancestor who founded the clan, even unrelated clan members feel such a tight kinship that they willingly give their lives for each other without a second thought. The clan is such a vital part in most dwarves' lives that, although it may not present a lot of roleplay opportunities for you as a player, aside from the ones that relate directly to your character backstory, or if you actually have the opportunity to engage with your clan, it can still add another layer of realism to your dwarf. If they are adventuring, they may feel an overwhelming nostalgia for the clan they left from time to time. Or they can take every opportunity they get to share warm memories of the clan around the fireplace with the party members. Even if your dwarf has left their clan, don't miss the opportunity to ask yourself, why did they? Did they forsake it on their own accord? Was the clan destroyed? Were they exiled? If so, rightfully, or were they wronged? All these questions will make your character more real and more relatable. I, as a writer, am constantly trying to do that. But while I do that to make the reader interested in my character so they are curious enough to keep reading, you should do that towards your fellow players. If they are interested in your character or they feel curious about them, I can assure you that it will enhance the roleplay between you and it will result in a better gaming experience. There will be eventually a video about making relatable characters. Look for it in the eye up there or down below in the Underdark when it comes out. Regardless, this attitude of constant devotion to the clan and improving it doesn't only apply to the dwarves family. In fact, most dwarves live their whole lives as a journey of self-improvement and a search for perfection. This is one of the things that I find more interesting about them, because while they are very long-lived like elves, they don't fall in the same nostalgic inertia as them. Quite the opposite, actually. They are instead very aware of their own mortality, so they spend every second they can working and improving themselves diligently. Even though they live more than 5 human lifespans, they believe that they cannot waste a single day, because those would be 24 hours worth of experience and mastery that they will waste forever and will never be able to get back since their lives are finite. Although it is up for debate if dwarves behave this way because this creed was instilled in them by the dwarven gods or they just happened to develop this philosophy while trying to emulate them, Moradin, the deity who created dwarves, is undoubtedly the source of this diligence. The books tell us that he crafted the dwarves and fueled them with purpose, dedication, and love for their family and the clan. But what's interesting is that other ancestries tried to follow and appease the gods to fall in their graces and eventually be rewarded by them. But dwarves have a completely different mindset towards their gods. They don't live the way they do because they want to appease Moradin. They do it because they recognize him as an example to follow, a moral and ethical and social and professional beacon, a paragon that they devote their whole lives trying to get as close as possible to, which I am fascinated about. It is such a wholesome perspective on religion. They don't do it because they want to get a reward, but because they understand that is the road to make them the best version of themselves. Now, how could this inform your roleplay? Just keep in mind, whenever your dwarf has to make a choice, what would be the option they think will place them closer to perfection? And this doesn't have to be associated with crafting or forging like it's usual with dwarves. Think about a choice between two paths in the middle of a dungeon, one easy and another one filled with monsters. A dwarf following this philosophy might run headfirst into the danger. This is exploited in pop culture a lot, depicting dwarves as hot-headed and, frankly, dumb, trying to do the stupid but honorable thing or dying with glory. But now you know that it can be something more. Maybe they take that dangerous path not because of the riches and glory that it might have, but because they think that's what will make them closer to what the best adventurers are like. Speaking of riches and treasure, dwarves are known to love gems and gold. Many use this to portray them as greedy, but I think that it's more complex than that. Because since all dwarves feel a tendency to build towards their clan and their family, I think what others perceive as greed might actually be just their will to build a legacy. In fact, the goods that a dwarf is likely to defend more aggressively than anything else are the ones they crafted themselves. Since they live to labor, in every item they craft, they impart a bit of themselves, a memory, an experience, a step on their way to perfection, and they don't protect these creations as a greedy person would do to defend a treasure, but more like a parent would protect a child. It's part of them. This is one of the reasons why thievery is so condemned among dwarves. Another stereotype commonly associated with dwarves is their stubbornness, which ties into the discipline we've been talking about. The books aptly describe this as minds as rigid as stone. For all their diligence has advantages, there are also disadvantages to the resistant dwarven culture has to change and breaking the routine. For example, dwarven warriors may see no reason to change battle tactics or develop new ones, ignoring the possibility that their enemies might learn how to exploit them. A dwarven merchant might feel uneasy about trading with a human settlement who just elected a new mayor, since the deal they made was with the previous one, not this one. Why do those hyperactive humans keep changing everything anyway? Think about this when your dwarf is faced with a situation where the routine is broken. If your character relies heavily on rigid expectations, how will they react when the table is turned? And this doesn't have to mean great political shifts. If the messenger the king has sent for your group is not the one he usually sends, that might be more than enough for a dwarf to freak out and start making up conspiracy theories. There's a lot more to talk about dwarves, but I'd like to talk about dwarven marriage. After all, I did promise you a secret. There is something that 5th edition doesn't tell us about dwarves. They are dying. Even though the dwarven ancestry is often presented as this timeless and ancient culture that has been here forever and will still be here a long time into the future, the dwarven population is experiencing a decline. This happens because the male-female ratio is not 50-50. Instead, for every 2 females born, dwarves get about 5 males. And then, just to make things worse, dwarves are not as fertile as other ancestries. I never understood if this meant that a percentage of dwarves is actually infertile, or if it just means that they have lower odds of making children, but the result is the same, less babies. And furthermore, because dwarves contend with dangers and invaders not only from the surface, but also from the Underdark, they die at a faster rate than they can repopulate. Supposedly, Moradin intervened and caused a baby boom at some point in the history of the Forgotten Realms, but not only I'm not sure that was perpetual or just a one-time event, we don't know about the other worlds, or if that boon will eventually be revoked. I couldn't locate any sources for this, so feel free to investigate on your own and tell me in the comments if I said something wrong, but I think this is so interesting that I just had to mention it. And regardless, this is a Life of Pi kind of situation where I prefer to believe that their population is actually in decline because it just adds more drama, which is what good stories are all about. Think about what that would do to you if you felt like you were part of a dying race. I've been talking for a while now about how dwarves are all about contributing to the clan, but what if the clan is dying, their numbers dwindling? What does a creature that lives to perpetuate the story of their ancestors and build upon it react to the grim perspective that it may be all useless in the end? Just imagine the character concepts you can squeeze out of this. And just on the topic of marriage, I'd just like to mention that while dwarves are certainly capable of loving someone in the human sense of the word, marriages between dwarves are different from what we are used to. Not only they are often arranged, the two spouses see each other more like very intimate co-workers or collaborators that craft and improve themselves together. It's a different and very culture-specific kind of love that humans probably can't understand. It's just another small difference that you can add to your dwarf's personality to make them unique and more interesting, and truly enjoy that fun of role-playing someone absolutely different from you. As I said in the previous video, these aren't absolute rules that all dwarf characters must follow. There are more like guidelines that you can use to juice up your character concept. Your dwarf can perfectly be the exception to everything I just said. But if that's true, I would just encourage you to ask, why? Why are they different? Because all of this is established canon, at least in the Forgotten Realms. If your dwarf was raised in that environment and came out radically different, what changed their outlook on the world? And why? Is this difference something that they are happy with, maybe even proud of? Answer these questions and you will have a more interesting character than before. That is all for the dwarves. I left out the Dwargar because they are not a typical playable subspecies, but if you'd like to see that video about Dwargar lore and how to roleplay them better, let me know in the comments down below. As usual, if you'd like to follow me and see what art I've been working on recently, I point you towards my social media pages. And other than that, I hope you liked the video and that it helps you create more interesting characters. Thank you for watching. I'm the first Arcadian. And nobody tosses a dwarf!